Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. Today let us discuss about section 194Q and its applicability in Tally Prime. Now to start with, section 194Q is applicable in the following cases. This section applies to a buyer whose turnover or gross receipt or sales in the immediately preceding financial year was more than rupees 10 crores. So this is the first point which is to be taken care of, that a buyer whose turnover, that is sales excluding taxes, or gross receipt or sales, total sales, invoice values taken together, in the immediately preceding financial year was more than rupees 10 crores. The buyer is responsible for making payment of a sum to the resident seller. Such payment is to be made for the purchase of goods of the value or aggregate of the value exceeding rupees 50 lakhs to a resident seller. Rupees 50 lakhs. Section 194Q applies to purchases of both revenue as well as capital goods. Now, seller or supplier whose income is fully exempt from tax is not to be considered. So, the buyer should have a turnover, gross receipt or sales in the immediately preceding financial year of more than rupees 10 crores, right? And the resident seller is receiving a payment above 50 lakhs on an aggregate or as per a single transaction. Now, what will be the rates of TDS? Tax is to be deducted at source at the rate of 0.1% on the amount exceeding rupees 50 lakhs. Unlike other sections of TDS, this point is to be noted that tax has to be deducted on an income on an amount over and above 50 lakhs. So, for example, if it is 60 lakhs, you have to deduct 50 lakhs and 0.1% will be leviable on the 10 lakhs, by which the payment or the transaction is exceeding rupees 50 lakhs in a financial year from a single seller, right, from whom the buyer has purchased goods worth more than rupees 50 lakhs. If the recipient does not furnish his PAN to the deductor, tax will be deducted at the rate of 5% by virtue of section 206AA. Calculation of TDS: purchase above rupees 50 lakhs in a financial year from a seller. TDS to be deducted after deduction of rupees 50 lakhs from the total value of purchases. The threshold limit is rupees 50 lakhs, which means a seller-wise deduction in every financial year. Applicability. Applicability of Section 194Q of the Income Tax Act is effective from July 1, 2021. So the TDS has to be deducted only on purchases after July 1, 2021. However, it has a retro effect. The threshold limit of purchase of rupees 50 lakhs has to be taken into account from April 1, 2021. So it is retroactive. That is, it has to be taken into account from April 1, though the section was effective from July 1, 2021. Adjustment of GST and other state levies. When tax is deducted at the time of credit of amount in the account of seller and in terms of the agreement or contract between the buyer and the seller, the component of GST comprised in the amount payable to the seller is indicated separately. Tax shall be deducted under Section 194Q on the amount credited without including such GST. Point to be noted, without including such GST, you have to deduct the TDS. So the amount on which you are deducting TDS shall not include the GST components. You must be very clear with this. If, however, the tax is deducted on payment basis because the payment is earlier than credit, the tax would be deducted on the whole amount, as it is not possible to identify that payment with the GST component of the amount to be invoiced in future. But when the invoice is raised, obviously the previous transaction, that is the advance, and the TDS component, the TDS which has been deducted therefrom, is ultimately adjusted. The above clarification will also be applicable in the case of purchase sale of goods which are not covered by GST but covered by other state levies, that is VAT, excise duty, etc. Purchase returns. Tax is required to be deducted at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier. This is the general rule for TDS. Tax has to be deducted at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Thus, before purchase returns happens, the tax must have already been deducted under Section 194Q on that purchase. If that is the case, and against this purchase return the money is refunded by the seller, then this tax deducted may be adjusted against the next purchase against the same seller. No adjustment is required if the purchase return is replaced by the goods by the seller, as in that case the purchase on which tax was deducted under Section 194Q has been completed with goods replaced. So in case of purchase returns, if there is no replacement, the TDS deducted can be adjusted in subsequent purchases, and if it is replaced, so there is no requirement of any adjustment. When to deduct TDS? The TDS is to be deducted at the time when such amount is credited to the seller or paid to him whichever is earlier. Exceptions. Section 194Q would not apply in cases where TDS is to be deducted on the transaction of a purchase under any other provisions of the ITA. Now we come to steps to configure 194Q in Tally Prime. Number 1, go to F11 and activate TDS for stock items. You can now set TDS details in stock items. So let us go to Tally Prime. So as it says, go to F11 and activate TDS for stock items. You can now set TDS details in stock items. So press F11. GST is already enabled. TDS is also enabled. TAN registration number is provided. Now activate TDS for stock items. Make it yes. You can now set TDS details in stock items as well. Now if you go to say a particular stock item which is already created here, you can see here that this option of set alter TDS is appearing. Press Y and you can select the particular nature of payment, or you can put it into the any option. Fine. Now what is the next step? Go to create master statutory and create a nature of payment. Now to save time, I have already created it. I can show you in the alter option. Statutory masters, TDS nature of payment, TDS on purchase of goods. Now these are the details you need to put and create a new nature of payment under section 194Q as TDS on purchase of goods. With PAN it is 0.10, without PAN it is 5% and the threshold limit is 50 lakhs. What is the next step? Number 3, create sundry creditors with the requisite details. Press F12 to activate advanced TDS entries. Press Y and then make ignore exemption limit applicable. Select the nature of payment and save. Let us go to the particular ledger which I've already created to save time. Sundry creditors. Now, if this option under statutory details, that is use advanced TDS entries, it does not appear, just press F12 and here you can find allow advanced entries in TDS master. Put it to yes and this option will appear here. Go to this part, press Y. Now you go to ignore income tax exemption limit, make it applicable. Now select the TDS on purchase of goods. and save it. Next, go to purchase entry F9 and press F12 and select a common ledger to N. Let us go to the particular entry. This is the entry. You need to press F12 and you have to select common ledger account for item allocation and make it N if it is Y. Now, if this is Y, what happens? This purchase ledger appears. And if you make it N, this disappears. And this is required for this particular entry relating to 194Q. Now come to the party. Quantity, put the quantity, rate, amount will appear. Purchased goods, it is 60 lakhs. Now here comes the nature of payment. It says, while passing the entry, press F12 and set allow modifications to Y when nature of payment window appears. Nature of payment window appears. Now here is F12. You press F12, allow modification of accessible value to Y so that you can change this value. By default, 60 lakhs will appear here, but you are not supposed to deduct TDS on the whole amount. You have to take the amount which is over and above 50 lakhs. So you have to write here 10 lakhs and purchase taxable will be the nature or the classification of this transaction for GST purpose, and you will find TDS has been deducted at the rate of 0.1% on 10 lakhs. Press Ctrl plus O. This is the TDS tax analysis, and pressing Alt plus F1, you can see here 0.1% deducted on 10 lakhs, which amounts to 1,000. You can press F5 here and also find out the GST details. So this is all about entries relating to 194Q. Press Y to accept. Thank you.